Once again, for those who do not know, I am getting caught up on the current going-ons with the Avengers as it leads up to the Secret Wars event. And that means that I also need to be caught up on the three main characters in the Avengers, namely Thor, Captain America, and Iron Man. The last two shows I went through Thor and Captain America. So today I'm focusing on Iron Man. Now with Thor and Captain America, I was able to find one single key issue. Did I find the same thing with Iron Man? Oh no, I didn't. So welcome to Kevin's commentary on comics. No, I was not able to find one single issue that described the full history of why Iron Man is who he is now, which, by the way, just means he's in that silver chrome looking suit and he's kind of going by Superior Iron Man. There wasn't a single issue like I found with Thor and with Captain America, and I really had to go back deep. The other problem with that is that I was not keeping up with the Iron Man series like I was with Captain America and Thor. So I really had to go back 2 or 3 years in order to see, okay, what were the events that lead up to this? So I started with kind of midway through the Iron Man series that was rebooted from #1 in November of 2012. I may have read the first few issues of this a while back. I don't remember. I didn't want to go all the way back to the first issue on it. Now, granted, there's only like maybe 28 issues in total of this particular run, but I felt like, well, I'm going to really have probably a lot of reading to do. So I started at midway, I actually started with the storyline of the secret origin of Tony Stark. Now that lasted for about 8 issues. I read all that, and little spoilers here. The end result of that is he finds out he's got a long lost brother named Arno Stark. Finds out he's got this brother, he's in an iron lung. He also finds out, and again, spoiler, Tony Stark was adopted. What? Who thought that? So that was kind of an interesting development that came out of that particular story arc. Once that was done, we went into Iron Metropolis, which was Tony and his brother Arno creating kind of the city of the future. And they did this on the remains of the Mandarin City, which was formerly run by who else? The Mandarin. And basically this became a city of the future. It kind of builds itself. After that, we had the 6-issue storyline, The Rings of the Mandarin, in which the individual rings of the Mandarin found new owners, each one having the ring instead of one person having all 10 rings. That was the storyline around that. It basically kind of finished off this particular run of Iron Man. And overall, I gotta tell you, it was okay. I mean, like I could have not have read that and been fine. As a matter of fact, it gave me no clue whatsoever as to why Iron Man is Superior Iron Man. So I had to kind of dig some more. Where did the Superior Iron Man come from? Well, I had to trace his roots, as it were, to Uncanny Avengers of all things. Now, when that issue or that series started, it's kind of the offshoot of the kind of the aftermath or after effect of the A versus X storyline. You had the Uncanny Avengers, which included a mixture of X-Men and Avengers, and they had a storyline. I think the first 3-issue arc storyline was around the Red Skull, somehow getting the brain of the deceased Charles Xavier, known more popularly as Professor X. Then after that, it was actually a rather long storyline of basically how Kang's children kind of changed the future, and it was a completely different future, alternate future, where Havoc and the Wasp were married and had a daughter. Somehow they managed to rectify this situation with the help of Kang and Immortus and some other guys. I don't know. This is a very in-depth storyline. I really kind of got lost a couple times. I'm not saying it was bad, but it did not really hold my interest like the Hickman storylines are in the core Avengers books. So the last issue of that run of Uncanny Avengers ended in issue number 25. Magneto kills the Red Skull and manages to unleash Onslaught. Now this, I didn't quite understand how this happened. I mean, basically Magneto just smashes the Red Skull's head with a chimney, a piece of broken chimney it looked like. And shortly after that, he morphs into Onslaught. Now, I have kind of taken Onslaught and burned that from my memory because Onslaught is what led to the really, really terrible Avengers Reborn or Heroes Reborn thing where Rob Liefeld and Image guys took over the Avengers and the Fantastic Four and Thor and Captain America and Iron Man, and I hated it. Hated it. So I know that Professor X, I kind of remember that Professor X was Onslaught, just glimpses of memory of that. So apparently, what is the deal? You kill Professor X or somebody who has his brain, and then all of a sudden you get Onslaught? If that was the case, how come that didn't happen when Cyclops killed Professor X in the aforementioned A versus X story arc? There's probably something I'm missing here, but I did wonder about that as I was reading it. I didn't really get it. Why is he Onslaught now? Because he's dead? That was a little weird for me, but whatever. You've got a giant Red Skull with octopus arms menacing the world. So this led to the big event of the Avengers and X-Men Axis, which was a 9-issue miniseries with a lot of spin-off stuff going on, because that's how these big events go, where basically the Avengers and the X-Men fight the Red Skull Onslaught. And basically it takes about 3 issues to fight and then ultimately defeat Onslaught. Now, I will say that 3 issues was too long. They should have done that in about 1 issue. It was drawn out. I didn't think the banter between the teams was that effective. Just really didn't throw me. I try not to get too negative in these reviews, but this one just didn't do a whole lot for me, I'll admit. So starting with issue number 4, Axis, issue number 4. So they defeated Onslaught in issue number 3. And they had to do this by combining the magics of Doctor Doom and the Scarlet Witch. Basically, they casted some sort of inversion spell. So they basically are turning the Axis around, right? So yeah, that worked. That got rid of Onslaught. But at the same time, anybody who was a hero when this and was around when this spell happened turned into a villain. And any villain who was around, and there was a group of them helping to fight Onslaught, they turned good. So Axis shift, inversion has happened. So this basically is what tells me, okay, so this is what sets up Superior Iron Man. He was obviously, he was one of the members that was there during this inversion spell, and had obviously affected his personality. But still not quite sure where Superior Iron Man comes from. So in issue 4 of Axis, see Iron Man flying above San Francisco, saying he's going to give that town a gift of Extremis 3.0, some app that just magically appears on their smartphone. They're totally at their will to use it if they'd like. And apparently this app makes the person using it kind of brings out their best, most beautiful self. So I'm assuming some sort of hologram or illusion. I'm not really sure how this thing works. I don't see how an app on a regular smartphone basically has the ability to transform someone into a beautiful person, but hey, you know, this is Tony Stark, so who knows? Oh, and I should mention Tony starts drinking again. Now, meanwhile, the rest of the Avengers are also going evil, and they're doing their own thing. So we don't see Iron Man again in the pages of Axis till issue number 6, where he is in his chrome silver armor, and he reveals this plan, basically that the app he submitted to everybody, or let everybody have for free, but he was going to start charging for in-app purchases, and it was going to become basically the cornerstone for the new Stark Industries. So I guess, you know, it's kind of like a drug. You get your first taste for free, but if you want to continue having it, you're going to have to pay for it. Evil. Yes, very. Daredevil shows up, and remember, Daredevil now lives in San Francisco, and they have a very brief fight where Iron Man, Tony Stark, actually both Tony Stark and Iron Man, because he's got now basically the remote control armor going all the time, pretty much finishes Daredevil off pretty quick, throws him off the headquarters of Stark Industries. In Axis number 7, the evil Avengers get back together, including Iron Man in his chrome armor. They decided that they can't let Steve Rogers, formerly Captain America, old man Steve Rogers, go around and have this new team of Avengers that he's got, which basically are the villains that have now turned good. They basically say, hey, we got to get rid of these guys. We got to kill them. They also figure out they also need to get the Red Skull, because if Steve Rogers and his band of good guys figures out how to reverse this inversion spell, they won't be evil anymore, and they want to stay evil. So, gotta go kill him. Let's go do it. So Iron Man and Captain America, who's formerly the Falcon, we'll just call him Cap Falc for right now, go off to get Steve Rogers. Iron Man gets held up by Storm. Again, remember, she's evil, and the X-Men are currently in the process of taking over New York or something. I honestly, let me just say, overall, this Axis event was blech. I didn't really care for it too much. I certainly did not like the first three issues. This storyline where they have the inversion part is nice, but just way too long. They should have condensed this thing to much tighter, and it would have made much more sense. Also, I really didn't care to read through all of the spinoff and related titles, Access storylines, so I just wasn't invested too much in this X-Men takeover. But basically, they're evil, they're tired of humans, they're gonna make the mutant superiority and somehow take over New York and I guess get rid of all humans or something, I don't know. So Cap Falcon faces old man Steve Rogers, who's in his old Captain America armor. So he's wearing his Captain America armor. He's also got that energy shield he used for a while when he did not have his original shield. So Captain Falcon beats the tar out of Steve Rogers, even though he is wearing armor. He pretty much manages to smash through this armor. I'm not sure what this armor is made of, but he pretty much takes him out, manages to get away with the help of the White Skull, the inverted Red Skull at this point, who has limited use of his mental powers. Not full use, but limited. So they manage to get away, and then the evil Avengers team up again. They go after him again. This was a reoccurring repetition. Again, this is another reason why this could have been tightened up quite a bit. It was always like, evil Avengers, get together, go after good Avengers. Let's get Steve Rogers, let's get Red Hulk. There's just a lot of stuff. The evil Avengers kind of face off against old man Steve Rogers in his battered armor. Steve Rogers' son from Dimension Z, Ian, who is now known as Nomad, and then the White Skull. These three guys, and remember, White Skull is not even fully powerful yet. They're facing off against the Hulk's Hulk, Cull, and Power Man, or Luke Cage, Iron Man, and somehow they managed to hold their own for a little while, but not that long. Ultimately, the guy that saves Steve Rogers from being killed, basically, by Captain Falcon, is Apocalypse, who barges in and with the head of Deadpool on his belt or whatever. Again, I am not familiar with the Apocalypse history, but I guess he is a member of the X-Men or is a mutant known to the X-Men as a young boy. Maybe this is the guy who will eventually become Apocalypse. Maybe he was transformed into a kid. I don't know the history behind it, but during the inversion spell, he became the evil Apocalypse that we all know. But apparently somehow Deadpool, who I guess is a buddy of the child version of Apocalypse, convinced him that he is actually a good guy. It comes down to Iron Man taking out Nomad and Steve Rogers rather easily. It's about ready to kill the White Skull when all of a sudden Doctor Doom and the Scarlet Witch appear. They manage to cast, with the help of White Skull, this inversion spell. But Iron Man is prepared for this. He does not want to go back to being good. He wants to stay evil. So he somehow puts up a big, huge force field around himself to protect himself from this spell. Now, captured within this force field is also Evil Havoc of X-Men fame and Uncanny Avengers fame, and Sabretooth. Good Sabretooth. He was part of the original villain crew that was good during the inversion. So basically, Iron Man protected himself from turning from evil to good, but also stopped Havoc from becoming good again, and Sabretooth from becoming evil again. So I'm assuming, Iron Man basically gets away after the spell is done. Everybody else is back to normal. Iron Man gets away. Basically, that leads into Superior Iron Man. As a matter of fact, the first couple issues were going on while the Access event was going on, the main core series. I assume Havoc is still evil and Sabretooth is still good. Whether that's still in play right now, I don't know. I did read Superior Iron Man #1. I actually kind of like this. Again, I'm going to go back to the young comic book reader in me would have hated changes like this. Hated it. Did not like it when they upset the status quo. So now that's where I'm at. Totally up to date now. I can read the Avengers now. I actually figured out with the Marvel Universe app, I can filter by month and year. So now I can go in and say, okay, I want to look at November 2014. What comics came out then? And then I can pick Avengers, Iron Man, Captain America, Thor, whatever else, and read along and keep in pace with each other. So I had a lot of catching up to do, but now I am caught up, at least as it relates to these three core Avengers members. So I'm Kevin, and that was my commentary. What do you think of the Superior Iron Man? And did you even read the Axis event? What were your thoughts about that? I really did. It was a miss for me. I just did not get into it at all. I thought it was way too long. I thought there were a lot of repetition stuff going on. And I can tell you that first 3 issues, I think I audibly said, this is terrible. The banter that was going on was just so forced and fake, and they're just trying to set up, look at all these good guys, they're having fun while they're fighting the villains, and just to set up the evil thing that's going to happen after issue 3. It just didn't do much for me, but hey, it is what it is. They can't all be winners. But what were your thoughts? Did you like it? I'm looking forward to reading more of the Superior Iron Man, just like I'm looking forward to reading more of the female Thor and Falcon as Captain America. All of this just goes to show, it's not easy. If you're not out there going to a comic book shop every week, buying your weekly allotment of comics and reading those and doing that every week, it does become a bit of a challenge to get caught up on comic books and comic book continuity. You don't really have to. Like I said previously, I could have continued reading the Hickman Avengers storyline going on in the Avengers and in New Avengers, and probably wouldn't really have missed a step in that particular storyline. But like I said originally, I get taken out of the story a little bit, and this is a deep story when I see, the Falcon as Captain America. I wanted to get past that, and it was quite a bit of a challenge, but I was up to it, and I managed to do it. So I am now going to venture back into the deep past of comics and find something else to read that I think is an epic or just a story that I liked. If you want to see what I'm going to talk about next, click on that subscribe button. I'm not even going to it again. It does what it does. Maybe I can figure out some way to put an in-app purchase on there, and then I can take over the world. Very superior Kevin commentary on comics coming your way. But until it does, I want you to have a great day, and I'm going to see you later. Goodbye.